Rutgers falls to Wisconsin 75-63 on Monday night, and an extremely frustrating performance, and one that essentially puts the Rutgers season now in serious danger of just imploding. Dylan Harper clearly not healthy, still battling from whatever sickness he had starting last week, and gave it a go, played about 15 minutes, did not score. It was an admirable effort to play, but clearly was not himself. So second straight game, Rutgers gets 0 points from Dylan Harper, and this team was unable to overcome that. And it was frustrating in the sense of how this team started. I think maybe, the impact of Dylan playing a decent amount in the first half and kind of the realization that he just wasn't able to be himself. He played 11 minutes out of 15 total, 11 in that first half. Missed both shots he took. Did get a few rebounds in this game, but listen, you give the kid credit for going out there. But Rutgers, this team just is so out of sync on the offensive end. And there were some positives tonight, but as a whole, this team did not bring it defensively early. And that's ultimately, I think, what cost them this game. Wisconsin just blitzed them, not from the three-point line, as many feared, including myself, but with really good passing, with an ability to get to the rim off the bounce and finish at the rim. They had 24 points early on. They were 24-11. 20 of their 24 were points in the paint. I mean, that's just really poor rim defense from Rutgers, and it allowed Wisconsin to get out to a big lead. And Rutgers was just playing catch-up the whole rest of the game. Now, to their credit, they cut the lead to 3, 2 separate occasions late in the second half. I think it was about 6 minutes to go was when the last time they had it to 3. And they just could not get enough stops and enough makes when they needed them to happen. And, offensively, there's poor shot selection, way too many, mid-range shots, contested twos. They could not finish at the rim in this game. Rutgers, 9 of 22 at the rim, plus a 1 for, those on layups, 10 of 23, counting a dunk. The maddening part of this game for me was Rutgers dominating the offensive glass. They got killed on the defensive glass. It was a weird game. I mean, Wisconsin shot 54.4% for the game. So there weren't as many defensive rebounding chances. Wisconsin was +3 in the night, but Rutgers 18-6 offensive rebounding advantage. But they lose second chance points 8-6, which is just, it's infuriating because that was the path they needed to win this game, and they could not do it. The bench, we'll talk about Tyson, Acuff, and Dylan Grant, but they're really positive stories out of this. But overall, Wisconsin +10 points in the paint. Rutgers did a good job in terms of forcing turnovers. Wisconsin does not turn it over a lot at all. They were number 2 in the country coming in offensively in terms of steal rate off on the offensive side. They had 16 turnovers. Rutgers had 8 steals. Rutgers was able to capitalize 15-6 edge on points off of turnovers. But there's just, they're just missing it. They're not cohesive as a team. And that, to me, was the most frustrating part of this game, with or without Dylan Harper. Good teams overcome adversity at times throughout the season, right? You're not going to be the same team without Dylan Harper all season. But these last 2 games, Rutgers played Indiana, Wisconsin, and those games were winnable. They were winnable. You can't just say, oh, well, they didn't have Dylan Harper. I can't expect them to win. That's BS. This is the Big Ten, and you got to be able to win games in suboptimal conditions. And for a team that is just stuck in the mud and cannot generate any positive momentum, there's certainly some bad luck here, right? With Dylan Harper getting sick these last 2 games, they've dealt with some injuries. Ace getting hurt early in the season, but really the Acuff injury, which you see now that he's starting to blossom. he showed up in a big way tonight. I've been preaching Acuff needs more minutes. He actually led them with 30 minutes tonight. 17 points off the bench, just 6 of 15 from the floor. He started 6 of 12, missed his last 3 shots, 3 of 8 from 3. Only player to make more than 1 3 in the game. He gave him a spark, and he knows how to play the game. He had a great in transition with J Mike. J Mike passed to him in traffic, and Acuff, smooth as silk, tossed it back to him for an easy lay-in. He had another assist on the perimeter in the second half. I can't remember who it was with. He's got a high IQ. He knows how to play basketball. And I think my frustration with this team, with this offense, is it's just so many times you see them disjointed and just take shots out of the flow of the offense. You saw that a lot tonight. And guys were trying. I mean, listen, the effort was not a concern in this game. They played hard. It's hard to describe. They just cannot get, it's like the wheels are not fully on the track, right? They roll smoothly for 2 or 3 steps or 2 or 3 motions, and then it kind of slides off. And then you put it back on and it's sliding, and then it slides off again. That's the only analogy I can come up with at the moment. It's like they're just not able to clearly glide in one motion together. It falls off the tracks at some point. And now they're in serious jeopardy. They're 8-7. They're 1-3 in the Big Ten. You have Purdue and UCLA these next 2 games. I mean, obviously, Dylan Harper's health is huge in this. I saw the Night Report posted something about Ace Bailey with his, looking gingerly with his wrist at the end in the handshake line. I haven't watched Pikel's post game yet. I'm doing this about an hour later. I was behind putting my kids to bed, so I watched it behind, the result. I'm too tired to even bring up my backdrop for this. I mean, I've been plugging away with work. I'm in a big transition period at work right now in a good way. And this is just madly frustrating. This team is just, they have not clicked. And again, Acuff was a big plus off the bench tonight offensively. So was Dylan Grant. Credit to Pikel for giving Dylan Grant a run in this game. And he delivered. He gave them 16 minutes. Rutgers was +4 with him in the game. He gave him 16 minutes. They're also +4 with Somerville on 18 minutes, minus with everybody else. Grant, 8 points, 3 rebounds, 2 blocks, and a steal. 3 of 8 from the floor, but he was aggressive. He brought them energy. He played pretty fearless, and he played within himself. He's got good body control. He's athletic. He needs to play. Love Zach Martini, love PJ Hayes, but they're not producing. And listen, I've argued for them that, I didn't think the coaching staff's done a great job of helping them get in the flow of things. Shooters have to shoot. Shooters need to be in the flow of things. They haven't really done a good job in helping them. But Martini, 8 minutes, just 1 shot from 3 miss. Hayes had 2 points, but misses 3 in just 4 minutes. But Grant got a good run tonight, and he showed a lot, I thought. I was impressed with him. Somerville, steady Eddie, 6 points, 5 rebounds, 3 of 6 from the floor, which is kind of poor night for him. Had a steal. But he gives them something off the bench again. Jeremiah Williams tried. I love him, but 2 of 7 from the floor, 4 points. It's not enough. And Ace Bailey, struggled in the worst way tonight. After a brilliant performance against Indiana, it just was too much to carry 2 games in a row. Just 3 of 16 from the floor. Picked up a technical at the end of the game, fouled out. 7 rebounds, solid, block and a steal, but just 1 of 5 from 3, 2 of 6 from the line. He's struggling from the line continually, and just, wasn't able to give Rutgers that scoring punch they needed. And that's it's like they lost by 10 and 12 to Indiana, Wisconsin. They weren't, they didn't have Dylan Harper at full strength or close to it. And they were still close enough if they had played better, and not so much better, just better, more together on both ends of the floor. I mean, their defense in the first half was pitiful. And it was at one point Wisconsin hit, I think they finished 11 of 12 from the floor to end the first half, but they made 9 in a row. which after Rutgers started, I mean, had a miserable start shooting wise in this game. It was like 4 of 20. And then they made 7 in a row, but it didn't matter because Wisconsin made 9 in a row. I mean, it's just they can't put it together on both ends of the floor. They just can't. And in terms of 75-63 final, I'm not sure if I mentioned this. I mean, Wisconsin shot 54% for the floor. Rutgers took 16 more shots in this game, which was all in the second half. And Rutgers shot 30% in the second half and 34% for the game. You know, they did a good job on Wisconsin from the lines, just 7 of 22, 31.8%. But, you know, they got obliterated from two. I mean, 24 of 35 from two. I mean, that's 60%. Right under 60%. Wisconsin came into the game 3 games in a row shooting 60% or better. They were right under 60% again tonight. Rutgers nowhere close to that. 7 of 26 from 3, 27%. And they were 18 of 47 from 2. That's brutal. They were just, like I said, 10 of 23 at the rim. Could not generate any easy baskets. And again, when you're plus 12 on the offensive glass and you're minus 2 on second chance points, that says it all. Just in terms of the frustration, they were plus 8 on turnover margin, plus 9 points off of turnovers. I mean, this game was there for them if they had executed better. And too many times offensive possessions broke down where they just settled for kind of one-on-one contested mid-range. And it was just Wisconsin looked like a cohesive team, and Rutgers looked like a bunch of players that were just working hard and trying to win, but were disjointed and not a team in terms of how they played together. And it was disheartening. This whole season's been disheartening. You know, I do think Acuff and Grant, if they can harness that a little bit, if they can get Harper healthy, it's a lot of what ifs, which Harper will get healthy, right? It's not an injury per se. It's just he's sick. If Bailey is okay, you know, he showed a lot of frustration towards the end of that game. There's so many quad 1 games still on the schedule. You can't throw dirt on their grave just yet. You just can't. Is it fair to have any confidence that they're not going to get up off the mat and be able to make a run? I mean, it's fair to not have confidence that they can do anything at this point in terms of make a serious run. That's fair. So these next 2 home games, I mean, they're must-wins at this point. And if Rutgers can win those games, then listen, they still have a shot. If they lose that at home, and then you go to Nebraska and Penn State, 2 places that are very tough to win, it's, you know, there could be a free-for-all in front of us. And that's obviously the worst-case scenario. So, you know, I know people like to throw it in my face how optimistic and positive I was about this team. I mean, I saw how competitive this team was in the offseason with each other. You know, they had some juice about them. They had a buzz. And you haven't seen that buzz. You haven't seen that juice. I don't know if they're thinking too hard out there, but it's just something's amiss. They're not free-flowing. They're not playing with joy. You know, they're trying. They're playing hard. At times, I thought tonight was not an issue. Other games, I think it has been an issue. But it's just nothing's gelling. And it's really frustrating as a fan to see it happen. And this was a game they really needed to have. And even with Dylan Harper, not himself, they had a chance to win this game. They were down 3 with 6 minutes to go. You know, they got to stop. And, you know, Ace took a really hard fadeaway 18-footer in his defense. He's made it recently, but not in this game. Nothing was going in. He had a lot of in and outs. You know, Acuff had an in and out down 3 from 3. Maybe not down 3. I think it was down 5 or something earlier in the second half. But there was a lot of shots that if they had gone down, it would have changed the complexion of the game. But, you know, Rutgers they were not good enough defensively. I mean, Blackwell is just a perfect example for Wisconsin of a guy that just can get a bucket when they need to. I thought Steven Kraut killed them down the stretch. Had 2 big offensive rebounds that he turned into buckets. He had a key assist down the stretch. Tanji didn't play great, but he had some big buckets down the stretch. They just had winning playmakers on the floor, and Rutgers is searching for that. And it just didn't happen tonight. Extremely frustrating loss. I'm shot. I got not much more to say. I mean, JaMychal Davis, 4-10 for the floor, 9 points. Made some good decisions, made some bad decisions. Rutgers as a whole just couldn't finish at the rim. Durkak had 8 points, 3 of 5 from the floor. Did have 4 turnovers, which was costly. Did have a couple assists. Nobody had more than 2 assists in the game, and they were 6 of 13 from the line again. Again, most of that was ace, 2 of 6. But, just 13 trips to the line, not enough either. They just settled too much for contested jumpers. They weren't aggressive enough in terms of getting to the hole, drawing contact, forcing free throws, and couldn't hit threes and just looked out of sync most of the game. And again, I think that poor start defensively in the first half, coupled by really settling for some tough shots, starting 4-20 from the floor, which is a terrible combination. When you don't have Dylan Harper, it's admirable that this team did not quit and cut it to 2 points late in the game. So there is that positive. But at the same time, they buried themselves to a 16-point hole in the first half. I mean, that's an impossible task. And this team just doesn't play smart at times. I hate to say it, but they look like individuals out there more than they do look like a team. And Rutgers falls 75-63. I'll be back before Purdue. Thanks so much for listening and watching once again here at the Scarlet Faithful podcast.